Ringo Starr. He's most known for being the drummer in the rock band The Beatles. You may have heard of him, or them. But for a group of 20 to 30 somethings, he's known for something else. The original voice of Thomas the Tank Engine. Sir Richard Starkey, better known by his stage name Ringo Starr. He's an English musician, singer, songwriter, and actor who achieved international fame during the 1960s as the drummer for the Beatles. But we aren't here to talk about every passing moment of his life. Oh no. I'm here to tell you why I think he's one of the most important pieces to the success of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, the TV series. When Britt Allcroft bought the television rights to Thomas and Friends, she had a clear vision of what she wanted it to look like. The final step in her plan was to find a storyteller, and she filled the last step of that puzzle by sheer chance.
How did you get Ringo Starr involved? How did that come about? Because he was the voice, of course, for so long.
Yes. Well, I wanted the stories to be told as intimately as possible, and in a way as an extension of the way that a little kid would sit on Granny's lap or whoever, and Grandpa's lap, and hear these stories told in a very intimate way. So I didn't actually want a cast of voices at that time. And I listened. It took me months. I listened to all sorts of voices, and none of them seemed to be right. And then, serendipity or whatever played a big part, because it was a Saturday night, I remember that, and the family were in the family room, and they were watching television, and I wasn't in the room, and I was going past the door, and I heard this voice. I thought, who's that? And that's it. That's the voice. And I went into the room, and Ringo was being interviewed on a British chat show. I think it was Michael Parkinson.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's right. And I said, that's it. It's Ringo.
She didn't pick Ringo based on his fame. She picked him because she thought he would be a good storyteller for children. Ringo had never read the Railway series, so he originally declined the role. Once he read them, he took her up on the offer. He loved the style of the books, and he said he was deprived of them as a child. Ringo still had ignorance at times, as he would sometimes refer to Thomas as Tommy to the Reverend Wilbert Awdry, and they did not like that at all. Thomas and Friends was a runaway success, but I believe it had to be the perfect storm for it to be that way. The model animation, the stories, and Ringo Starr all played a key part. Everything had to be perfect. You can't have a good animation and a good story and have it be told by someone with an awful voice. The obvious reason to pick Ringo would be his fame. In the 80s, everyone knew who he was. The Beatles were a worldwide phenomenon. When they went on TV interviews to promote the show when it was first getting started, Ringo was front and center in every single one of them. The fact that you had a Beatle telling stories on a children's show would probably be an easy draw to turn on the television for your children, but that wouldn't get the kids to keep watching past the original time. Ringo had such a voice that I always felt comfortable listening to. My first Thomas VHS was Thomas Gets Tricked. The first episode I watched was Thomas and Gordon, and that one was told by Ringo Starr. I had no idea who he was, but I was instantly drawn in. His voice just made me feel so warm and at ease, and his accent felt perfect for a show with talking trains. I have so many nostalgic memories of his voice, and when I rewatch the episodes, I can hear them in his tone, and it makes me feel so good inside.
Thomas is a tank engine who lives at a big station on the island of Sodor. He's a cheeky little engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome.
Ringo was also on the show Shining Time Station when Britt Allcroft wanted to expand the Thomas brand into the United States. Ringo was Mr. Conductor, a 20-centimeter tall conductor who would tell stories about the trains on the island of Sodor. That's how they worked Thomas into the live-action TV show.
Hi! Mr. Conductor's been telling me all about train schedules on the island of Sodor.
Did he tell you about Thomas or Gordon?
No, what about Thomas or Gordon?
Let me see. I have some time. I'll tell you a story about Henry the Big Green Engine. But I must warn you, it's a very sad story.
So Ringo had to do the same dog and pony show all over again in the United States. So of course, the United States ate up Thomas and Shining Time Station, becoming one of the most popular shows on public television. Well, for kids anyway. This may be a controversial opinion, but if Britt didn't choose Ringo as the storyteller, I'm not sure Thomas would have went on to be as big of a success as it was. As I said, it was just the perfect storm of a children's show and a world-famous musician narrating it. If you chose a little-known radio host or some guy off the street, it could have flopped. And that wouldn't have been good for Britt, who had essentially mortgaged everything she had to get the show on TV. So you had to make a big splash with Ringo. After 2 seasons and 1 season of Shining Time Station, Ringo stepped away to work on other projects. So after he departed, he was replaced by one of the most influential stand-up comics of all time, George Carlin. When he left the show after 2 more years, he was replaced by Alec Baldwin, another huge actor. So would either of those two accepted the role if they weren't replacing someone other than a Beatle? Who knows? Maybe if the price was right. But it just added that extra prestige to being Mr. Conductor or the official voice of Thomas the Tank Engine. Ringo is not my favorite storyteller, or my favorite Mr. Conductor, but I loved his time.